Sounds
All
good.
right, we are recording. You're on. Okay, so Rozalyn, please introduce yourself. Just give us a little background on you and just kind of how you got started. And
Okay, great. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me tonight, y'all. I am a Diamond Gold Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. I have been with Plexus since June of 2013. And my journey starts way back in probably March of 2013. My best friend is Celeste Gwynn. Some of y'all may have heard of her. She's the #1 sales rep for Plexus Worldwide. And she had never worked a day in her life before she started Plexus. She had come to the game with about a 35-pound weight loss. She'd been on the product for about 6 months. And so I've been watching her lose weight. She's my best friend. I see her every day. You know, I thought she looked fabulous. But I had no idea really what she was doing because she was always into something. So she finally came to me and she's like, okay, Roz, listen, I've decided I'm going to start selling this Plexus. This is how I've been losing weight. Gives me the whole spiel. And she's like, and you've got to do this with me. Like there's no question you're doing this with me. And immediately, y'all, I was like, absolutely not. I was like, this is the last thing in the world I would ever have any interest in at all. At the time, I was working full-time for my children's. They go to a private Christian school, and I was running their marketing department. And I said, you know what, there's absolutely no way. I don't have the time. I'm working 50, 60 hours a week because not only was I working for the school, I also at one time owned my own ad agency. And in the recession back in 2007, it just wiped out my company completely and lost about 90% of my revenue in about 2 phone calls. And so I had 2 clients still holding on. I still kind of have a billboard company that I own, and they were just kind of holding on. So I was working that business on the side after I got home from my full-time job. I was doing everything I could just to keep things afloat. You know, my husband works very hard. He was working full-time, but we were just in that position where no matter how hard we worked, we felt like we could never get ahead. And it was really defeating, but that was my life, and I didn't know any different. So all I knew was hard work. All I knew was getting in the trenches and just getting it done. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I'd never had that kind of money, so hard work just kind of came natural, and that's just what I did. But the fallout of that was it's very difficult when you have a whole bunch of friends who don't work at all. And, you know, they are shopping and having lunch and doing all this stuff and having this freedom of a life that I'd never experienced. I knew nothing about. So Celeste was so eager for me to join them in this because she was like, Roz, you know what, you could have all this freedom like we have. And I didn't believe her at all because I didn't believe in network marketing. I thought it was a sham. I had no interest in products like this. I have a heart condition. It's called paroxysmal atrial tachycardia. And it's where my heart would take off in irregular beats, going about 180 to 200 beats a minute. And I was afraid that taking things like supplements or kind of things I didn't know much about might set off my heart into an arrhythmia. So I told her, I said, you know, I've got my heart thing, not interested. I don't have the time. And she's like, Roz, do this and you'll get your time back. So I was like, you know what, all right, I can kind of see your argument there, because while this was going on, she was signing up every one of my friends. They were either an ambassador on her team or they were one of her customers. And the thing was, is like, they weren't just signing up and it was like a fly by night. They were signing up, they were losing weight, they were making money. It's like only things that were coming out of Plexus was positive things and joy. My friends were having a blast. There was one time we were all laying out over at my friend Ariel Post's house. She's a Diamond as well. So we all go to the same school. And they were all talking about Plexus. Everybody laying out was talking about Plexus. And I'm sitting there going, this is so lame. Is this going to be my life? Y'all are talking about this Plexus stuff? What a whip. I don't want it to be like this. And they were like, come on, Roz, to join us. I was like, y'all are creepy. You know, this is the firm. And so, you know, finally Celeste comes to me and she's like, listen, Roz, do me a favor. If you will take this ingredient list to your doctors and just vet it for me, just so that I know that what I'm doing is completely legit when it comes to a cardiologist or any other doctor you want to share this with, but just check it out and see what they say. So I was like, all right, my best friend, I'll at least do that for you. So I took the ingredient list to my cardiologist. He looked at it and he's like, there is nothing in here that can hurt you. So I was like, all right. I gave it to my son's naturopath. And he looked at it and he was like, there's ingredients in these products that I give to your son. And I was like, huh. So then I gave it to the list to a dear friend of mine, a holistic health coach down in Dallas. And she looked at it. She wanted to tear it up. And she fell in love with the product. She's now an Emerald Ambassador on my team. So, I had all these people kind of giving it the stamps of approval. So I went back to Celeste. I'm like, all right, give me this little pink thing. I'll try it. If they all say it's okay, I tried it for a day. I liked it. I tried it the second day and I felt that sustained energy. I was expecting that heart pounding caffeine race and I didn't get that. And that started to, kind of fill me with some belief that, okay, this stuff is kind of legitimate. But then what it came down to for me was the business side of it. At the time, we were really, really needing some extra money. I have a son, he's high functioning on the autism spectrum, and there was a new therapy. It's a neurotherapy, a neuromapping. And I wanted to offer that to him because he was going into middle school, and I was scared to death for him to go to middle school. I was so scared because that's a scary thing to put any child, much less a child with disabilities. And I just thought, I didn't feel that life was handing him a fair deck, that he already had this stacked against him, and now we couldn't even afford to do this therapy. And my husband was like, what if we gave this a shot? What if we tried this just like Celeste and them? I mean, Celeste was showing me pay stubs of $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. And I was like, this is crazy. You worked at a snow cone stand for 2 months of your life, and that's all you've ever done. And now you're extremely successful in this. And she's like, Roz, because this stuff works. So I said, okay, listen, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this for Colton. I honestly thought I'd make a couple $100 and I'd have to pray through the rest. I needed $1,000 out of pocket every month because my insurance refused to pay for this therapy. So I just kind of put my head down. I said, Celeste, I'm doing it. What do? I got out a notebook. I took all these notes and took off. And in my first full month with Plexus, I made $1,200. And I was like, this is it. And the crazy thing is the 1,000, of course, helped Colton. And that was just a huge blessing from the Lord. But where the hope lied for me was that extra $200. Because I had no idea that I could actually make more than what I even needed. And then that told me, my gosh, what if I really worked this? Because I was doing this while I was working full time. I was plugging away at my lunch period, before school, after school, evenings, whenever I had a free moment, and I was able to make $1,200. I thought, what if I really intentionally put time towards this? What if I did sacrifice some things in my life and really put my all to this? I could retire from my job. So that was it. My why completely changed. I took off, started working it like a business hard, and I knew how to multitask because it's all I'd ever done in business. And I guess that was probably July of 2013. I was able to retire in May of that next year from my job. I went diamond in 9 months. Emerald in 9 months, sapphire 2 months later, and diamond 3 months after that. It was a huge snowball. This neck of the woods hadn't heard about Plexus, so I had the prime pickings of all my friends, and it was really a really hot market at the time. A lot of people, I have to say the thanks to all my growth really goes to my team. And I'm in awe of them because they had to learn to be resourceful very fast because I could not handhold them. I worked full time. I was extremely transparent about it too. I said, guys, this is when I'm available. I will be there for you at any of these times. At any other time, you have to rely on each other. And I bent them all to each other and introduced them early on to each other and showed them where to find resources and showed them how to do research and then showed how they could help each other. And they just became this really huge, cohesive, tight team very fast. And my girls under me ended up ranking up to Jewel, within, 12 to 14 months as well. And now I've got 16 Jewels on my team. I have a downline active of probably 7,000 or 8,000 active ambassadors. I think a lot have joined my team since I started, which is crazy because I didn't want to do this in the first place. But you know what? It happened. And, this is the path that the Lord has put me on. And now my why is now switched to, I want to get every one of my friends up here with me because so many of my friends work just as hard as I did. And they've had to sacrifice so much in their life now and are still sacrificing sacrifice. They don't have to, because they can have this. They can have this opportunity. I have them. I'm driving a car with a leather interior, and it's the craziest thing I've ever driven, because I used to drive a hail-dented minivan. I was like all kinds of ghetto, y'all. And the doors didn't work. It was just a mess. And now I just got this beautiful car. I get to go on these amazing trips, and the corporate, what they do, they just treat us like just royalty. And I'm just in awe. So that's my journey in a nutshell. But tonight I'm excited to share with you actually tangibly how I did that while I was working full time.
And I knew bits and pieces of your story, but I didn't know all of it. And that just gives me chills and just such hope. And that's just amazing. And it's so funny when you just say yes to the Lord, what the doors he opens,
Oh, absolutely. And you just trust,
incredible.
when you really trust, you trust his journey and his path.
Yeah.
Stop trying to do everything on my own.
Awesome.
I just step out in faith and say, okay. And that's kind of when the tides turned.
Very cool. Well, I mentioned it before we started recording, but Kim McCormick, our other senior Ruby on our team, is going to be interviewing you. She is highly qualified as a small business owner. And so, Kim, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. You got to
Lauren, I think you muted yourself, hon.
Hold on just a second here.
Yeah, I can hear y'all.
Hold on, sorry. I thought I'm already called in. You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. Shoot. Okay.
Oh.
Can you hear me now? No? Hold on.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
You didn't know?
There you go. We can hear you.
Okay, yay, finally. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Okay, so yay, so glad to have you on the call with us. I guess we had some questions. I asked a few people on our team that also work full time, and we had some great questions that came up, and I thought you would be the perfect person to answer them for us. Our first question would be, did you approach coworkers to discuss Plexus? And if so, what is the best way to talk about relationship with them?
Yeah, I did approach coworkers, and I approached coworkers. Honestly, they kind of approached me, to be honest, because they kind of knew what I was doing because they were friends with me on Facebook. But one thing I really made sure I did while I was at work is that I didn't work my Plexus business on my employer's time. I had to be respectful to them because that is a very slippery slope. And that's where you can kind of get yourself in trouble. So at lunch breaks or in the morning or whatnot, I would make sure I would work Plexus into the conversation, telling my friends, I'm going to work, or I'm going to have to step out in my car at lunch today. I'm going to do some work on my Plexus business. And they're like, well, what's that? And then I kind of get to explain it to them. Very simple stuff. Then I always at the office had a pink drink in my hand. People asked me every single time. And see, it was a little different for me because I worked at the Christian school that Celeste and I's kids go to. So people will say, is that the stuff that Celeste is drinking? So, I already had that story. But you guys, if you're carrying that around or you have any swag on or you have any, you brand yourself with Plexus, people will ask you about it. If you're in a more corporate environment, an executive environment, you do need to be really careful. If there are folks that you would rather not see what's going on Facebook because they might judge you or watch you or make you feel uncomfortable about having a side business, that you can post things on Facebook to everybody except. So there's a button on Facebook. A lot of you probably know this. I'm sorry if I'm repeating if you guys already know this. But when you type in a status, there's a button that says friends. Click that and a drop down comes down and you can say, I want this to go to everybody except. And you can type in your boss's name, your manager's name, and it will default to that. So every time you post, it will keep those people off and they will never see the post, nor can they go to your page and see the post ever. So that was a way to, and I still do that to this day actually, because there are certain bosses that still hold a little bit of a grudge that I didn't sell myself out for their ad agency that I used to work for. And so I would take out the folks that I knew might have an issue with it. And anybody else that I was coworkers with, I would just visit with them about Plexus. Tell them, I'd bring it up casually, just like you would anybody else. But again, you can't be pushy. You just kind of tell them that this is kind of what you're doing on the side. It's pretty lucrative. It's a great way to make extra money on the side, and hopefully one day you could make a career out of it. And maybe there's going to be something in your life that they're seeing that makes them interested enough to either try the products or to maybe jump in and do it as a business on the side as well. But you just got to be really respectful about that with your company.
Okay. This one's similar to that, but it says, sorry, I've got a barking dog here. Did you have any issue with your management when you started working Plexus? If so, how did you mitigate the issue?
I actually did not, because all of my coworkers were on the product and they were taking it. But I can speak to this. I have a lot of full-time working folks that have retired on my team and some that have dealt with this very thing. You do need to make sure that the company that you work for, that there is a clause that allows you to do a business on the side. You need to be careful with that. There are some businesses, you may be in the health field. That may be your career. So they may see this as some type of conflict of interest. Pharmaceutical sales might as well. So just make sure, y'all, that you are completely aware of any of the stipulations that you're put on as an employee of that company. Management, I will say, when it was time for me to leave and I did retire, they weren't happy because I retired. And Beth Anderson, she's also a diamond. She worked in my office too. She retired, and Laura Cloud was a sapphire. She was a teacher at the school, and we all retired the exact same time at the end of that year. The school was not happy with us. They just knew that we had been working this clandestine type crazy business on their time, and we weren't. I mean, we worked it like a dog at our lunch break. We worked hard after work. And in the evenings, I mean, I stopped watching like reality TV and stuff, and I just used that time and worked my Plexus business because I realized, oh my gosh, I could either watch reality TV or I could physically be making money and allow myself to retire. It was a very easy decision. So really, I just had to be really honest with my management when I did leave, and they look at it from a selfish standpoint because it's their company, it's their business. They feel cheated because you didn't want to, hang your hat on their hook. And I just had to say, guys, listen, this is for me. This is for my children. I ended up taking my son out of that school and putting him at a school for kids with learning differences that I never could have afforded. And I told her that. So in telling my managers what the freedoms this new business was allowing my family, from a human standpoint, they couldn't argue it. Yeah, they were frustrated because they wanted me to work there and they didn't like that I was able to get another business and become more successful. The human side of them just reacted that way, and that's the way people are going to react. But I made sure I showed them respect. I stayed through my contract. I didn't break it. I didn't work on their dime. Just things like that you need to really make sure that you're on the up and up. If your manager is still a punk and is still coming after you, you know what? It's time for you to make a decision. I've got one girl whose plan was to retire at Sapphire, and she ended up retiring at Ruby because her boss, she's like, I'm out. He was being so difficult with her and so mean about all this. Ellen Ford, she's also a Diamond Gold Ambassador. And she she was a paralegal, and she left, and her boss just thought it was all a sham, thought the whole thing was a sham. And she's like, yeah, then I'm leaving on my last day driving a new Lexus. It's not a sham anymore. So, you know, her bosses and management kind of saw the reality of what this business could take her to by seeing her car and everything. So, but, you know, just make sure that with management, you try to be as honest as you can. You know, I think the more transparent you are and the less sneaky you are, they can't not respect that, because, you know, you're doing it on the up and up.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is, they say that fortune is in the follow-up. Do you have a special method that you use for organization and follow-up with potential customers and ambassadors?
Yeah, I worked for years in Excel. I used to train in Excel. I was a media director, and I used to take large companies' media budgets, you know, up to $11 million, decide how to spend that media, and then I would go negotiate that in TV, radio, print, outdoor, online. That was my career prior. So I lived, eat, and breathed in spreadsheets. Didn't love them. I'm not a math person. They weren't my favorite, but I know how to work them very well. So I just made spreadsheets. It was, and you can do the same on a ledger paper, where I would just do a column of everybody that I contacted. And then I had a little column that I wrote the date that I contacted them. And then the next column was the manner in which I contacted them, whether it was an email, an inbox, a text. And then I had a notes section. And then I had another column of when I wanted to follow up with them next. And it was very simple, y'all. It was very basic. I started this with, you know, my big 100 list of people. And then I took a highlighter and I highlighted everybody who I thought was potentially could be a strong leader, who had a strong level of integrity and strong character, and that I wanted as a leader on my team. Not just, oh, who can I get to sell Plexus? That's not the mentality I went. I went at this from a business standpoint, going, I needed 3 legs to my stool, is kind of how I kept thinking about it. And if I could get my 3 legs, my 3 power legs, that they could help me build my organization. And that's what I did. And 2 of the girls that are 2 of my legs worked at one of the ad agencies with me. One was my assistant. Her name is Andrea Mitchell. She worked for me for 3 years. And another is Susan Stern. She was an account executive in the office next to me. They're 2 of my legs. I directly went after them because I knew that they had what it takes. I knew they were self-starters. That's a huge thing when you're looking for people. Because when you're working full-time, y'all, we don't have the luxury of just throwing darts at a board and just hoping people join our team. You've got to really try to be intentional about who you find. And then once you start finding people, keeping that organized. Once I would, you know, these people I would highlight in yellow, I tried to reach out to them first. Because I guarantee you, if you don't reach out to people, somebody else will. They will. Even if it's somebody that you are so embarrassed to reach out to because you're like, they're going to totally laugh at me. Idea. I have 2 people that I was too afraid. You can learn from my mistake. I was way too afraid to reach out to because I thought they would laugh at me. One of them is a senior Ruby right now, and the other is a gold ambassador. And they're both killing it on other people's teams here in McKinney. It's my fault. I mean, I dropped the ball and I was afraid, and I just let my own fears get in my way of that important list. One of them even bought from me one time, I think, way back in 2013, and I never followed up. I never went after her again because I didn't want to be pushy. Oh, come on. What a wimp. I mean, she needed this stuff. Now she loves it. So make sure when you do make that list that you are really following up with those people, that you're not chickening out on the hard ones, and that you're making sure that you follow up. I would call everybody. If anybody would give me even like a nugget that they might be interested, I would follow up a week later. If I didn't hear anything, I would follow up maybe a month later. If they said no, that's never a no forever to me. That means I just move them to another list in the next year. I check in with them when we're doing a promotion. I say, hey, I know last year you weren't interested, but just letting you know, we're doing this Mega X promotion for St. Patty's Day. Awesome product. Your name just popped up again. If you're not interested again, just ignore this. But if you are, just know I'm always here. I still do that. Because you never know. There's people will decide that they need Plexus at the time of the life, in the time in which they are ready for it. There are people that might not at all feel like they need the products. Then all of a sudden their health just slides. and all of a sudden they get diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder and they need this. They might have all of a sudden become a single mother, or all of a sudden have to take care of elderly parents. All of a sudden, financially, they need this business. A year ago, they didn't even think they needed it. And now they've watched you for a year, and they've watched your success and watched how easy you've been able to build your empire. And now they're like, okay, wait a minute. If she did that this quick and I need money, and they put 2 and 2 together, and maybe it's that time. I've had at least 3 people that have watched me for a minimum of 2.5 years all join my team, and now they're all taking off. And they watched me for a long time, but I had them on that list, and I followed up. And I made sure that I always kind of put a little nugget in there. And a lot of times, y'all, my follow-up is so like casual, just more of, hey girl, it's Roz, just checking in. I know you're seeing me do all this crazy plexus stuff. If any of this interests you at all, just let me know, because you could make a killing. And if not, I know you've been still struggling with those migraines. These products can really, really help you out. And if they don't, you get all your money back in a couple months. So let me know if you're interested. And that's it. And I'll walk away. I've never been pushy. I just always kind of drop the facts, and then I walk away, and I let them do what they want with it. That's a long answer to your short question. I am sorry.
That was great. Okay. Next question would be, as your team and your organization grows, how do you manage to help your team learn and grow while nurturing your own business, as well as maintaining your day job and making time for family?
The biggest thing there is time management. And you have to put yourself on your calendar. If you don't, you'll burn yourself out. It is so easy. This job, you all know that we can work this job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not even bat an eye, because there is a bit of an adrenaline rush that comes in when your business is building and people are signing up and things are just happening. And you think, but if I work a little bit longer, but if I do this a little bit longer. And the challenge is we don't want our families to resent this business. We want them to be on board with us. And so it's very easy to let yourself kind of lose touch with the fact that, hey, I'm doing this for freedom. I'm doing this so that I can have more time with my family, not so that I can sacrifice my family to do the business. So make sure that you set office hours if you can. It's really easy. I'm going to be honest, guys. It was easier for me when I was working full time to set office hours, because I was bound 2 hours for my job already. So I would wake up in the morning, I would put up a post at 6 to 6:30, then I would get ready, get my kids ready, get to school, get to my lunch break, put up another post, answer questions, go through my day, get to carpool. Carpool was the best time. Between 3 and 4, y'all, people were always on their phones. I would throw up a really good post. I would answer questions. I would save the evenings for my family. Yeah, that's shady. Yeah. This is Roz girl, y'all. No, I would come home, make dinner, do homework with the kids, spend some time with my husband, get the kids down, and then boom, I'd get right back on the computer and I would work. And I would work for about an hour and a half. And that was when I did a lot of research, a lot of talking to my team and kind of, troubleshooting things. I loved Saturday mornings. I would get up like an hour or two or before the kids, and it would be dead silent in the house. And I would just start working on stuff. I would make files. Y'all, I made files on my computer for different categories. One was BioCleanse, one was ProBio 5, and I had stories and testimonies I saved in each of those files so that during the busy week at any time I could on and shoot that out. I also saved lots of stuff on my phone, in my email. On my phone, I made a folder called Plexus Forwards, and I would type out a whole email. And if somebody were to ask me, so Roz, tell me about Plexus, I wrote an entire email to answer that. And then I sent it to myself and I saved it in that folder. So then anytime somebody asked me, hey, can you send me information about Plexus? I went to my phone, pulled it up, typed in their email address, and hit send and forwarded it. And that's how I got stuff out so fast all the time while I was working. I had another one on what are the steps to become an ambassador. And then I had another document on how to sign up. And these 3 things I sent out all the time. I think I must have sent them out, gosh, at least 100 times each of them, just to random people. That's how I got myself really, really organized. But now that my team has grown, to answer more of this question, how do I balance managing my team and growing my own business? That's a hard balance that I think you'll never have perfected, but you just always need to try to work to kind of keep that teeter-totter, because you can pour into your team so much that you let your own business suffer. And your own business, your own network marketing business is like a bathtub with a drain. It's always open and that faucet's always on. And if you're not continuing to fill your own tub, it will eventually drain out. And you'll notice this in contesting. If you don't have 1 through 3s, 1 through 4s, you're not going to be winning anything in any of the contests. And that's kind of what incentivizes a lot of us that to kind of keep moving, keep working hard for Plexus. So you've got to, make sure that you at least do, I try to do a 5-3-1 each day, which is reaching out to 5 people, following up with 3, and training 1. If I do every single day for my business, that's my income producing activity, then at least I can say I've done something for my business today. Then I jump to all my teams and I start, helping my teams and helping fix customer service issues or troubleshoot or, plan Zooms or whatnot. But if I can do that 5-3-1 every day for my own business, that keeps my business kind of working and keeps my irons in the fire. And then I can utilize the rest of the time to my team. A lot of people on my team, I've my diamonds, I have 4 diamonds on my team, and we talk a lot about setting office hours. I want them to do that because they burn out easily, very easily. And so they'll say, from 11 to 2, that's my office hours. That's my Plexus hours. You can text me, email me anytime, but that's the only time I will answer questions. That frees you up a ton. And if you're working full time, you say, okay, between 12 and 12:45, my lunch break, and between, let's say, 3 and 4, pick 2 times. That's when you can reach me. That's when I will be working my Plexus business, so that your folks know that if they're sending messages, you're not ignoring them. You are waiting for your office hours to open and for you to open your Plexus office door. You train them right, you train your team right, and they will know exactly when your office hours are. But I promise you, if you stick to those office hours, it's going to keep you, it's going to keep your work more intentional during those hours too. Because if you are just randomly working, you have no idea. You're like, I guess I'll put up a post, and I guess I'll just say hi to somebody, and I guess I'll read newsfeed. I mean, if you have just a specific amount of time to work, you're going to be a lot more intentional about the work you get done.
Perfect. Okay, we'll try to do this last question real quick because I know we want to leave a little time for question and answer. Okay. But, okay, with time being so limited with your career and family, what would you say, what was the most important thing that you focused on to build your business so quickly? Because I know sometimes we feel like our businesses are growing slower than we would like.
Yeah. And it's just interesting because everybody on my team, every single person on my team's journey was different. Every single one of them was different. There's a few of us that moved fast for one reason or another. It's not because we did anything better, I think, than anybody else. We happened to have people in our sphere of influence who wanted it like we wanted it. That was a luck, something that, that was a luck thing that kind of fell on our hands. But most of the time, it's going to take folks about 24 months to hit a jewel level. So doing your best not to compare yourself to everybody else's journey is going to really help you settle into the fact that, hey, this is my journey. The Lord knows what my journey is going to look like. He knows who he wants to bring to my team, and he knows who he doesn't want on my team. So there's going to be times you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be mad because somebody at church took a customer, took an ambassador of yours, and you're like, man, she totally knew I'd been talking to them. There's the reason that person didn't land on your team. I have to tell myself that all the time. I have to really be okay with it, because the minute I let that person go, the Lord's going to bring somebody else to my team that's going to be amazing. And I just have to be patient and wait for it. Waiting is the hardest part. I know it is. But I just had to know when I was in my journey that if I just stick to the course if I don't let all these distractions pull me away and get me down and get me in the cycle of, oh, maybe this isn't for me and maybe this isn't, I didn't think that. The whole time I thought, this is for me. My journey is just a little bit slower than those around me. Now, I say that because Celeste went diamond in like 4 or 5 months. Stupid, crazy. And so that's who I was comparing myself to. You know, Rainey Spalding, Anderson now. She went diamond, I think emerald in like 6 months, 7 months. These were the people that were on my track. So I'm watching them thinking that I had done something wrong, but then I had to tell myself, you're the only one working full time. You can't sacrifice your family for this. I know I want it. And I had to think, okay, if working for 2 years, 24 months, would that be worth it? Would that be worth it to get my freedom, to get to retire, to not have to work for anybody, and to be my own boss? Would it be worth it? I was like, heck yeah, it would be. I'd do this for 5 years. I'd do this for 8 years. I mean, the amount of money that I'm making now is more than I made, you know, my first entire year as an advertising executive. I'm and that's in 1 month, and I'm floored by it. And seeing the revenue increase, I mean, you can think about yourself now, you guys, no matter what rank you're at, if you're even a ranked ambassador right now, you are where so many other people want to be. You right now, where you are, there are hundreds of thousands of ambassadors wanting to be where you are right now. So just know you're already ahead of the game. You just have to put your head down. You've got to believe that you can do this. And once you get past that, you forget about these naysayers, you forget about the critics, and you forget about the people that dig on you, or that, you know, put you down your posts, or whatever people will do. And I just have to tell myself, they are not paying my mortgage, and they are not the ones that are going to retire me from this job. This job is what's going to do it. Plexus is what's going to do it, and I'm going to make it happen. And I just took off. And you almost have to tell yourself that on a daily basis. But when you do, I mean, it's easy to focus, and it's easy to stick to it. And it's easy not to let things distract you, and not to let, you know, even let the business, you know, take over your family